slowly dying, just like I told you it would. So the problem with a utility token is that it's valued based on its utility. And the problem with anything that is a utility means it has the ability to be outcompeted by something with greater utility. So the same way whale oil was ultimately outcompeted by kerosene, and the way kerosene was ultimately outcompeted with electricity and natural gas and all of this other stuff. The same is true. Same with search engines. You had Lycos got outcompeted by Yahoo, which got outcompeted by Google, and it's just a whole string. And you never know with something whose use is utility alone and not a store of value. You never know if you are, second to last. You definitely don't want to be the second to last of utility because that means it's going to be outcompeted by whichever one wins the market in the end. And with a utility token, there's no way of predicting what that is. So Ethereum is a smart contract platform, meaning people use it to do all sorts of weird and wonky stuff with crypto tokens and cryptocurrencies. Some of it makes sense, a bunch of it doesn't. A bunch of it is basically, slot machine gambling and crazy stuff. But regardless, Ethereum was the dominant platform and the first platform. But there's a huge difference between a monetary network and a utility network. So in a monetary network, it's very rare that monetary systems switch. The process of switching from gold to paper money or let's say from silver to gold to paper money, each of those things took a very long time because to participate in the new network, you've got to swap your value from the old network into the new network. One second. For example, 99% of my liquid net worth is held in Bitcoin. It's not like I can just go transfer that to somewhere else I literally have to liquidate the Bitcoin to buy something else with it. The same is not true of the utility. I can wake up today and decide I want to buy a meme coin, like the Trump coin or the Melania coin, even though I think both of those will go to zero and are horrible things to put money in. But I could, and I could do that, in the old days, I would have done something like that on Ethereum. But I can wake up the next day and decide Ethereum's a little too slow or that the fees are a little too high, and I can do the same thing on Solana. It's similar to stablecoins, which I've talked about before, like USDC and USDT. People do those on Ethereum. They also do them on, Solana. They also do them on Tron. It just doesn't matter. Like you're just going to use whichever network is the cheapest and the fastest. In the case of USDT, a ton of their traffic is done on Tron. Now, does anybody care what Tron is? No, but it just happens to be faster for that use case. So who cares? People just use it. Um, Almost nobody, nobody I can imagine, would actually use Tron as money. Tron is not money. It's a utility platform. You use it if it's cheaper and better at the moment than your next best alternative. So the problem with smart contract platforms is they work that way. They are utility platforms, which means you're only going to use them so long as they're faster and cheaper than the next best alternative. One second. So in the case of money, money does not work that way. What matters with money is security and decentralization. The absolute certainty that nobody is going to make more of that money. The absolute certainty that you can hold that money yourself in something like BitKey. The absolute certainty that nobody's going to hack the network. Well, the Ethereum network and smart contracts on it have been hacked a gazillion times, and Bitcoin is rock solid, 100% uptime. It's, in my opinion, completely unhackable. It's open source code, so the attributes you care about with money are different than the attributes you care about with a smart contract platform. One is purely about utility with with no interest in long-term store of value, and the other is all about store of value and the ability to transact with that store of value. So for all the reasons I've covered in other videos, and if you want to know why nothing will outcompete Bitcoin, go on my Facebook page and type the word outcompete, OUTCOMPETE. Outcompete, just type the word outcompete and watch the videos I've done about why nothing will outcompete Bitcoin. And nothing has outcompeted Bitcoin. It's been 16 years, 1/6, 16 years. Bitcoin's been number one. Bitcoin's never not been number one, and nothing has even come close to outcompeting Bitcoin. Um, the same is not true in the smart contract world. In the smart contract world, it's all different flavors of, different things were hot at the moment. When Exodus went public on the blockchain, initially they were planning to use Ethereum, but it was too expensive. So they decided to go public on Algorand. So it's like, what are you going to use? Are you going to use Algorand? You're going to use Ethereum? You're going to use Solana? You're going to use Cardano? I mean, who the heck knows? Are you going to use Tron? Doesn't matter. It's a smart contract platform. You're going to use whatever the cheapest and the best in the moment. So I predicted from the beginning, well, at least from 2021, which was 4 years ago, I predicted that Ethereum would get outcompeted by other things and that it would therefore go eventually to zero, especially zero against Bitcoin. And one of the things I always check, because I just keep Coinbase in advanced mode, is the prices I check are the price of Bitcoin to US dollars, which makes sense. But everything else I check as compared to the price of Bitcoin. So the trading pair Ethereum Bitcoin, Solana Bitcoin, Cardano Bitcoin, XRP, actually XRP, there is no trading pair to Bitcoin because nobody's dumb enough to trade Bitcoin for XRP. But there is a trading pair from XRP to US dollars. So I always check all of those. And I've just been watching I've been watching Ethereum slowly march toward zero as compared to Bitcoin, exactly as I predicted it would. And even Solana is not doing very well compared to Bitcoin in the long term. And plus, Solana will probably be outcompeted by something else. So the problem with anything in crypto other than Bitcoin is you have the outcompete risk. Money tends to not have outcompete risk because people care about, with money, they care about security, decentralization, they care about longevity, they care about things that are not what's the latest whiz bang, feature. Like, I'm not going to move all my net worth to some new token that somebody says is 1% better than Bitcoin. No, all I care about is decentralization and security. And Bitcoin has those things. And there's just no way anything's going to ever outcompete that. There's no way to outcompete that with the massive, massive, massive hash rate that is securing and auditing the Bitcoin network right now. Nothing else, no crypto token's ever going to come even remotely close to that. And on top of that, you've got it's open source. The best software developers in the world are working on it. You have the anonymous creation, which is very important for money, that we don't know who developed it. There's nobody for the government to go, put in a headlock and tell them to change something. Nobody knows who Satoshi Nakamoto is, the inventor of Bitcoin. And Satoshi Nakamoto hasn't even been participating in Bitcoin for a decade now. So who cares? It's been more than a decade. It's been, I don't know, 13 years now that Satoshi Nakamoto has not been involved. So for all of those reasons, you can trust Bitcoin as money. You cannot trust Ethereum as money. Ethereum is being actively outcompeted in the marketplace, like real time, like as we watch. And Ethereum, I believe, long term will slowly march towards zero, which is exactly what it's doing right now as it gets outcompeted by Solana. And the same is true. Solana will eventually get outcompeted by everything, by something else. I don't know what else, but it will get outcompeted by something else. And Solana will march towards zero compared to Bitcoin. So do not store your wealth in a smart contract platform. That is not what they're intended for. That's not what they're built for. That's not what they're useful for. Do not store wealth in XRP or Solana or Ethereum or Cardano. None of those were intended to store wealth. None of those were intended to be money. Do not store wealth in things that were not intended to store wealth. Those are smart contract platforms. If you need them for a smart contract use, which almost nobody does, but if you do, use them for a smart contract platform use and keep as little of your wealth on that smart contract platform as possible, because that's not what they're intended for and that's not what they're good for. So, as predicted, Ethereum marches towards zero. I hope you did not store your wealth in Ethereum, because if so, it's very, 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 it's quickly losing value, and it's not too late to convert your Ethereum to Bitcoin. Same with any other, token. Convert it all to Bitcoin. That's what makes the most sense. Have a great day.